I'm going to go ahead and get us started. And first of all, just say a big and hearty welcome to everyone. We're so delighted that you have chosen Grand Valley. You're a Laker, and we're thrilled that you're here and joining us today to learn more about advising and registration in the summer ahead. My name is Matt Bolkins, and I am a professor at Grand Valley State University, professor of mathematics. I've had the good fortune of working here for 22 years. In addition to that, I'm the Director of New Student Advising and Registration, and I've held that role for 7 years. In addition to all of the work that I've done for the university over my time here, I count myself very fortunate to be a Grand Valley parent as well. My two sons, Adam and Ethan, are both alumni. Adam finished 2 years ago, and my son Ethan just finished a week ago. And so it's been a great part of my life to have kids who've been students at the university. And then I want you all to know that I'm also going to continue to be a Laker parent because my youngest child, Jenna, is just finishing high school, and she'll be joining the incoming class this fall. And so I'm excited today to be kind of taking a principal role in this meeting today with sharing some information with you and answering your questions. I'm also really pleased to be joined by three of my fantastic colleagues, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves now.
Hi, my name is Brian Hatzel. I am a faculty member in the Movement Science Department. I also serve as the Assistant Director for Advising and Registration, as well as Director for Faculty Initiatives for Student Success. So majority of my day is supporting your students once they're here at Grand Valley and preparing them for their matriculation into our program. So we look forward to meeting you tonight and answering questions that you have, as well as working with your student in the future.
Hello, I'm Jody Hitchinski, Associate Vice President and Director of Admissions. I've been at the university for 23 years. And this spring, I too had my first experience attending a virtual graduation at Grand Valley as my son also graduated. So I'm looking forward to talking with you tonight and continuing the discussion well after this evening if needed. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Liz Chase. I am the coordinator for parent and supporter orientation, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be here with all of you today. Thank you for joining us. Excited to answer your questions and provide further information about your students' advising and registration process. So before we begin, I would like to just go through a couple of logistics. So first, I would like to note that I am recording this session, and a link to this recorded session will be emailed out to you, as well as those who couldn't participate this afternoon. Additionally, I know that you've probably noted that your audio and video were muted upon entering this Zoom session. We do ask, like Matt said, that you keep your audio muted when you're not speaking, just so we can limit any background noise. But of course, you're welcome to unmute your video, which so many of you have, and it's wonderful to see all of your faces, so thank you for that. Additionally, I would like to draw your attention to the bottom part of your screen where there is a toolbar. You should see a chat button, a participants button, as well as a closed captioning button. Closed captioning is available to everyone this evening, so if you'd like to utilize that service, go ahead and click that closed captioning button. And lastly, we would ask that you hold all of your questions until our Q&A portion of this session, so we can make sure to get to everyone's question. So how today's going to work is Matt is going to go through a quick presentation about your students' advising and registration process. Then we're going to get to your submitted questions, and then we will open it up to the group for any additional questions that might be on your mind. So with all of that being said, I'm going to hand it back over to Matt for his presentation.
Thanks, Liz. Before I start, I wanted to just make some general comments about the times we find ourselves in. So this global pandemic that has hit us and that has forced so many changes in all of our lives is something that I just want to acknowledge is difficult for us all. I'll say I personally have had kind of low-grade anxiety about what the future holds for some time now, and have myself had to face various aspects of loss and challenges in my own family. Like Jody, my son Ethan, who graduated from Grand Valley this spring, we didn't get a chance to have graduation in person, at least not yet. And we've had to kind of adjust to all kinds of things that we didn't know were coming our way. I totally recognize that while everybody is experiencing this pandemic in some way, different people are experiencing it in different ways. And for some people, it's incredibly hard. And so we just want you all to know that here at Grand Valley, we're thinking about you all and each other, and that we understand the difficulty of that. We also recognize that that leads to lots of natural questions that you have, some of which you've submitted to us today about the longer term future for what to expect for the fall semester. And so I want to say at the outset, while we have those questions too, that's not really the point of tonight's session to address those longer term things, in large part because we don't know. But what I can say to you is that President Mantella and her senior leadership team, they have been working incredibly hard on these issues. They meet every single day of the week at 9 a.m. for at least an hour, and they're planning and preparing for students, and they will be having more information that they can release to the public for what our plans are for fall, we expect by about the third week of June. So I know that everyone's hope is that we'll be able to be face-to-face in fall, and that while certainly some things will have to be different, that we'll be resuming operations that are as close to normal as we can do within state and federal guidelines. So I'll just say to you, I'm optimistic about all those things. I trust our leadership, and I'm totally comfortable waiting for them to be ready to tell us when they have the information that's available. I want to also say to you that in the last 6 weeks, we've done an enormous amount of work to re-envision our summer program. And I'm excited to share some of that information with you now, that while we're sad that we're not able to host our big in-person gatherings that we look forward to with something like 125 students and their families every day, we've designed a system that will serve you well, and that I'm excited about the opportunities that it presents. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna share my screen with you, and I have a short PowerPoint presentation that will go over some of these things. And then once we're done with that, we'll go ahead and get to questions. So this is a bit on what every student can expect for first year advising and registration this summer. So my understanding is that everyone on this call is somebody who has signed up for a May registration date. So thank you for doing that. And some of you are already starting to get some communication from us. So for at least May and June, and indeed we've just recently announced for July as well, we're going to do our advising remotely through video conference. And what this leads to is each student having a one-on-one appointment with an advisor for 60 to 90 minutes on their scheduled registration day. When we meet in person, we work in small groups, and while students have access to advisors, they don't have one-on-one attention. One of the comments we often hear is that students wish they had that. And so one of the things we're really grateful for this year is that students will have that dedicated advising time with a single faculty or professional advisor from the university. As much as possible, when I'm planning our staffing, I'm working to assign advisors to students so that the advisor's expertise or experience are in programs similar to what the student is interested in, according to what you reported on your sign up for registration. The big goal of these appointments upcoming through May and June and the rest of summer is to help each incoming student get registered for a full slate of classes for both the fall and the winter semester. So here's an overview of what you can expect before the appointment. So if you have an appointment in the near future, some of this communication has already come to you. So 2 weeks prior to your appointment, each student receives an email from admissions that has network login credentials and a to-do list. Completing this to-do list is very important. I will mention here that the process for Honors College students is slightly different. So if you're an admitted student in the Honors College and are planning to study there this fall, you're getting direct communication from the Honors College office, likely from Robin Toth. And that leads to you having, to honors students having appointments with advisors on different days sometimes than they signed up for. But for all non-honor students, the process listed here on the screen is what you can expect, and your appointment will be on the day that you signed up for. When we get to 3 to 4 business days prior to the appointment, each student will receive an email from their advisor with the day and time of the appointment, plus a PDF form for you to fill in to share some key information with us. So if you're a student with a May 6 or a May 7 registration date, next week, Wednesday or Thursday, some of you may have even already heard from an advisor, as that information has just reached our advisors very recently. And if you haven't yet, you'll hear from them soon. Your task as the student will then be to download and save this PDF to your computer. It's a fillable form. You'll fill out the information that you have in there and send it back to your advisor. The sooner you can do that, the better, to help your advisor prepare. And your advisor will then respond to you with a video conference URL, much like you got for this meeting tonight, that you will then just click through and join the meeting. The advisor's email to you will also include a draft of some suggested classes for you to consider based on information that you have shared with them. Once your appointment starts, after some brief introductions and some time to discuss placement issues or questions you have about courses suggested in advance, the main task of the meeting will be to log into Banner, which is our system that takes care of all of our data at Grand Valley. You as a student will share your screen, and the advisor will help you select your classes, working from some ideas for courses that the advisor has prepared in advance. Advisors will do their best to help you understand why courses are being taken, which ones fulfill general education requirements, which ones are for your major or minor, and more. I do want everybody to know that these things that we establish on the day of the appointment aren't fixed permanently. They're changeable, and we'll have some discussion about that and more as we work our way towards further ideas in this talk and in fall semester. Once your appointment is finished, one of the benefits that you have is that you have this direct contact with one of our advising staff, and you can follow up by email or phone with them as you need. It'll also be the case that if you need some additional help and support, your advisor might connect you to other resources on campus. Your schedule that you arrange on your registration day is changeable at any time prior to the end of the first week of classes. We do ask that if you want to make substantial changes to your schedule, you do that in consultation with an advisor. We just want to make sure that the classes that you're choosing are appropriate to your requirements and that you're prepared for and ready to be challenged by them. Certainly, as we near fall semester, you can expect more communication from us about transitions, about your major program of study, and more. Transitions is our kickoff to the fall semester, where we welcome students formally to campus and we help prepare them to be successful. Oftentimes, major programs and more reach out to students in those fields, and you can get communication there. And then, of course, in the circumstances that we find ourselves in, I expect that you'll get regular communication, not just from admissions, but from the university at large as further developments ensue. I want to just briefly point you to a couple of different resources that we will in part get to in the questions, but just so that you're aware of and you know what these things look like. So I think that Liz has already put in the chat window the admitted students page. And so that's a key resource for you. That's kind of a one-stop landing place for you to reach a bunch of different resources. The email from admissions looks like this. And so this is sent to test before we started sending them out to students, but you can see that it has the student's registration date. It has some information about communication and logistics. You get your network ID and password through an electronic process. There's some tasks for you to do. There's some information about course experience and placement that people have questions about tonight that we're going to get to and respond to. And then there's some additional work to do to get ready for your advisor. So once again, if your registration date is within a little under 2 weeks from right now, you should have already received this email from admissions. And if your registration date is upcoming, you can expect that to come 2 weeks prior to your registration date. And then from the page that Liz has mentioned, that Liz has noted, you can go to the Preparing for Advising and Registration page. And so the information on this page essentially parallels the email that's been sent to you. And you can get a whole bunch of different information and direct links to like math placement, language placement, writing course selection, and more, things that we'll talk about more in just a few minutes. And so with that said, I just want to say for what we want from students to do in advance, we want to really urge you to be responsive to your email, to watch for it closely, and to respond to things as promptly as you're able. The more you can be responsive to outreach from your advisor, the better this process will go, and we'll be very grateful for that. The same goes for following the directions and completing the checklist in that email we've sent you, that doing those things in advance does all sorts of good for helping us know better who you are and understand what your wishes are and get you ready to register for classes. And then, of course, speak up and let us know if you're in a place where you have questions about any of these things. And so now we are in a place where we can turn to your questions. And so what I'm going to do for now is I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and Liz is going to facilitate the question time, and she'll tell you more about how that's going to go, and I'll be happy to respond to things further as we go.
Great, thank you, Matt. So first, we're going to go through a couple of submitted questions. When you registered for this session, you were able to submit questions ahead of time. So I went through all the questions and I pulled about 3 or 4 that I feel like really encapsulate the majority of questions that were asked. So we're going to go through those really quickly, and then we will open it up to the group to ask further questions. So our first submitted question is going to be around AP credits or advanced placement credits. Folks are wondering, what is the maximum number of AP credits that GVSU accepts? And for many students, you know, they might not have received their scores from their AP exams yet. And so how does that impact class scheduling or the registration process if they don't yet know what that score is or if they've even received credit?
Thanks, Liz. First off, to all you students who took AP classes or took International Baccalaureate or have worked on CLEP exams, congratulations. That's fantastic work and great things that prepare you even better for college. So at Grand Valley, our policy is that for a combination of advanced placement, International Baccalaureate, and CLEP exams, a student can bring in up to 32 credits. It's very rare that a student exceeds that, but when they do, advisors work with the student to help them choose the 32 that are most appropriate for that through typically through advanced placement when the credits are that high. Regarding advanced placement exams, although the circumstances of AP exams are different this year, the timing of it is what we face every year, and that's that students frequently take exams in May, and they don't know the results of those until often sometime maybe around the 1st of July. Our standard policy on that, which will be the same this year, is that we always operate under the assumption that if you took an AP exam, you got the score you needed to get credit for that course at Grand Valley. Our data shows that, that over time, more than 4 in 5 students, more than 80% of students who take AP exams earn the credit that they wish. So it serves us well when we're registering in May and June to make that assumption. And then we have a system where we go back and check and do reports later, and our records office helps us catch that if there are places where a student didn't get the score they needed and we need to adjust the schedule. So students, what you should do when you get the communication from your advisor in that fillable PDF form is you should put your AP scores in that document, or put your AP exams in, and any scores you know from your junior year, and your advisor will work with you accordingly. Later in the summer, one of the things you'll want to make sure is that you've officially had those scores sent to Grand Valley so they can be entered as part of your record and count officially for credit.
Great. Okay. Our next question is about placement testing. So what are the required placement tests that students need to complete before their advising and registration, and what does that process look like?
Certainly. So I'm going to share my screen to help out with this again here and show you that preparing for your registration page, which again, you have links in your email to for the various things there. So there are 3 main areas where each incoming student can think about placement in advance. And so while none of this is required, all of it is strongly encouraged. And again, the more you can do before your registration appointment, the better. So for math placement, you will get in your 10-day prior email, you will be told what your current math placement is, which is based on your ACT or SAT score. And then the highest possible placement is Math 122 and Math 123 fulfilled, which essentially means that a student is ready to take a class in calculus, although we certainly know that not every student needs to. And so if that's not the placement that you have, every student has the opportunity to challenge their placement through proficiency tests that are taken online. And I'm going to just go to the website where you can see that. And so here from the Department of Mathematics, we have the 4 different possible math placements that you can have. And again, if you have one of Math 097, Math 097 fulfilled, or Math 110 fulfilled, those are ones where you should read more and learn more about the possibility of taking proficiency tests. So these are taken online. There are practice tests available to you. There's videos that show how the system works, and you even have 2 opportunities to take each test if you so choose. I will say if you're a student who is taking something that's science related, or you know that like calculus is in your future or more advanced mathematics, it's absolutely in your best interest to take these proficiency tests before your registration appointment. And for all students, I think it's in your interest to do so as well, just from the standpoint that often people change their minds. So while you may not be thinking right now that you're going to pursue an area of study that requires a lot of mathematics or science courses that have mathematics prerequisites, taking these classes now, or these tests now, closest to your high school experience to demonstrate your proficiency there is a great thing for you to do. So I'm going to leave you to this information here. The math department is very responsive about questions that we receive. So this email right here, mathtest@gvsu.edu, is monitored every day. And if you have difficulties or questions there, we're happy to respond. Language placement is something that works in a fairly similar way. What we want to do is we want to encourage every student who has taken a foreign language, studied a foreign language previously, to pursue language placement evaluation, and like math placement, to try to get these things accomplished within 48 hours of your appointment so that we have that as part of our records. And here too, if you follow this link, which is also the link that's in the email sent to you, you get all sorts of information about how language placement evaluation works, what degrees require foreign language classes, what language classes we teach, how language placement works, and then you can go ahead and request an evaluation. For 5 different languages, for Spanish, French, German, Italian, and Russian, we have an online placement test that if you click this link, you'll get some questions that you're asked, and you'll get directed and ultimately get an email with a link to a one-time test that you don't need to study for, that enables us to assess your language proficiency and get a placement through you completing it. If you've studied another language like Latin or Chinese or Japanese or a handful of others, languages that we also teach, requesting a language evaluation will put you in touch with a professor who will basically email you and set up a time to talk with you and assess your language proficiency over the phone and help you decide what course to take. And we have a system in the back end with both math placement and language placement where that information is recorded in our Banner system. So when it's time for you to register for courses, we know the ones that you are prepared and ready for. And then lastly, the third request that you have in your 10-day prior email is tied to your writing course selection. And so one thing that every first-year student at Grand Valley needs to do is to complete our first-year writing requirement, which is essentially a course called Writing 150. And there are 3 ways that students fulfill that. There's more information about that on this page right here about which writing course is right for you. But here's a summary right here that shows the 3 standard ways that students meet this. So one option is to take our Writing 150 class, which is a 4-credit course. Another option is to take our stretch version of that course, which instead of 1 semester for 4 credits, it's 2 semesters for 3 credits each semester. So that's a course that the 120, 130 option is one that about 20% of students avail themselves of. And it's designed for students who have less experience in writing and would like more support in a slightly smaller class setting. And then many students also fulfill Writing 150 through AP or through CLEP or transfer credit. I'll also mention there that that's something that's different for honors students, that honors students fulfill Writing 150 through the honors requirement. So if you're an incoming honors student and you don't yet have Writing 150, this would not be an instruction that will come to you as part of the communication from the Honors College about your revising. So that's a lot of information about placement. I'm sure people will have some things that they want to follow up with later, but for now, I think we should move on to the next question, Liz.
Sounds good. Okay. The next question is going to be about that first-year learning community and connected courses. So what credits do these courses count towards? Are they gen eds? And do students need to choose their connected courses prior to their advising and registration appointment?
Right, thank you, Liz, for that. We've gotten quite a few questions about the learning community. Actually, this afternoon, another message went out to all of you to give you some more information, so supplemental information, as well as a request if you would like to choose that. So to help you make that decision, the first year learning community is really just the name that we put to a program where we take courses and pair them together. Essentially, we have 2 faculty members that teach two different content courses that have agreed on a theme where they bring their content together under this unified theme. They work together on writing assignments or work or homework, or I guess you would say, and exams for each of the courses. They do the team, essentially a team approach to the courses. You get general education credit. Each one of our pairings offers 2 areas within the general education curriculum that would be satisfied by taking a paired course. Some of the benefits of taking the paired course are that they're taught in a smaller environment, so we drop the course caps a little bit on those. You also are in the courses with the same students. So whomever is taking Writing 150 will also be in the same class with you in the Integrative Studies 100 course. So what we found from students in their experience in these courses, they've really enjoyed having a little bit more intimate experience, both with the faculty members, the professors, as well as their students, their peers in the course. So the richer discussions and more involvement, essentially, both inside of class and beyond. There are outside of class learning opportunities that exist, and those are oftentimes coordinated amongst those 2 faculty members. And you attend those with your peers in the class. A benefit to making a choice to take one of these options in the learning communities ahead of time is that you'll be pre-registered for them. So you'll be assured a seat in each of those courses, and it'll allow your advisor to be aware of that ahead of time and plan your schedule accordingly. So that way we can fit any labs you may have or other required courses you have for your major around those courses. So that way you can get the benefits of it.
Excellent. Thanks, Brian. So the last question that I have is, can parents and supporters attend their students' advising and registration appointment with them?
So in a typical summer, when everyone arrives to campus, we have 2 parallel programs that ensue. So after a brief welcome, students head off and work with their advisors independently, and parents experience the parent and supporter program that we offer. So this year, the Parent and Supporter program is being administered through video, and it's asynchronous, so you can watch that whenever you want. When it comes to the student's appointment themselves, I'll say we're open to having a parent or a family member present with the student. We do want to respectfully ask that that person be a listening partner and that the discussion and conversation be primarily driven by the student, as it's important for them to understand for their future at Grand Valley and to make the key choices that are there. We understand that these are different times and that with all the changes that are afoot, people are really interested and want to know more. And so if that's something that would make you more comfortable and those parameters work for you, that's certainly an okay thing to do in the times ahead.
Excellent. Okay, so that is it for the submitted questions. Now we are going to open it up to all of you for any additional questions that you might have. There are a couple of ways that you can ask questions. You can either type them into the chat box. So if you hit that chat button, that box will pop up and you can type it in. Just make sure that when you type it in, the message is going to everyone. There's a drop-down menu that you can choose who the messages go to, and just make sure those go to everyone so we can all see them and answer them. You can also use the raise hand button and raise your hand, and we can call on you and you can unmute yourself and ask your question that way. So it's whatever you prefer. We do already have a few questions, so I'm going to jump right in and start. The first question is there an opportunity to pre-select a time for advising as this student has an AP exam on the day that they were scheduled?
Advisors are setting the times because that kind of specificity is difficult in general, but if you know that conflict in advance, if you'd be so kind to send an email to admissions and just let them know about that, they will forward that to me and I'll forward it to the advisor and we'll make sure that we work around that to help you.
Okay, another question here. Is the advising experience for a student with an IEP or a student with a disability different than an advising experience for a student without an IEP?
For all of our incoming students, we aspire to have them have the same experience, at least initially, and then we work to connect students to resources additionally to support them. So if a student, for instance, has been in contact with our Disability Support Resources Center and has shared needs that they have with them, one of my colleagues in DSR is in communication with me about that list of students. And then what I share with that student's advisor is that we'd like the advising appointment to be earlier in the day so that the Office of DSR can reach out to the student and schedule an appointment for them later in the day to review the schedule and better understand how we at the university can support them. So it's not different initially, but it's different in terms of additional resources that we can offer after.
Okay, another question. Is med term considered a foreign language?
Is medical terminology considered a foreign language? It is not, even though it might have felt that way when you took it.
Okay, how are IB credits going to be awarded this year?
So I know less about IB than I know about AP, but I do know, if I recall correctly, IB exams were canceled this year. And that's, no, Jody?
So what's happening with IB is they did alter their testing, and so they are indeed, Dr. Bulkin's doing it a different way, but the scoring at the end of the day is going to be the same. So if a student refers to our brochure, the scoring system that we have for granting credit will still be accurate. So yes, indeed, you are correct, there are adjustments, but if you go to our website, we have a brochure called Credit by Exam. If you Google that on our page, it will show you all of the equivalencies for AP and IB. So if you want to reference that, you'll be able to see the scoring and then know that we will indeed still honor that and bring in credit accordingly.
And I'll just add to that, that even though AP exams are being administered differently this year, that hasn't changed anything about how we're accepting AP credit in ways that line up with what we've done historically. So all of those things are the same, even though your experience as students is different this year than it has been in other ones.
Okay, a few more questions about AP exams, and I apologize if you already answered this, but one question is, should we take the language placement test if we fulfilled credits through an AP exam?
Brian, do you remember the answer to this question? This is a slightly unusual one. I think I do, but.
Sorry there, I was unmuting. So I went ahead and put in the chat the reference to the credit by examination that lays out what the AP scores are. Was that the question?
No, that's okay. So it gave me time to think, though. It's about language placement. So I believe that if you took AP, an AP language in the summer, if you score appropriately on the AP, you might get as high as the 202 level on that language. It is possible through taking language placement to score even higher than that. So that might be something that possibly benefits you. So that too would be something that early on, 3 to 4 days before your appointment, when your advisor reaches out to you, if you have that question, you could ask that of them, and they could certainly follow up as necessary with someone from the Modern Languages Department if they did not know.
Okay, here's another AP question. Does AP English exam credit apply to writing 150?
It does.
Awesome. Is the language placement test recommended even if the student is bilingual via an immersion program?
Yes, it is. And maybe even especially, because you would be advanced enough that that you'd be able to take classes at a very high level. So one of the things that's challenging for us in that way is that we don't have a way to know that short of you taking that proficiency test. So if you would prefer that we put you in touch with an expert professor, talk with you about what would be possible, that's something too that your advisor could arrange with you on the day of your appointment.
Okay, sorry, lost my spot.
There is a question, if a student is planning to take a summer class at another institution, will they still receive incoming freshman status? Are there certain things they need to fill out? Again, understanding that we're in an unusual situation and that for many of you, your senior year ended abruptly. If you choose to take a class as a non-degree student this summer, It will not impact any merit scholarships that you have coming into the university. It will be important for you to share that information with your advisor during that advising session, so please make sure that you have the course number and description with you. And when you complete that course, make sure that you have an official transcript sent to the university so that we can apply that credit to your student account. For any of you that have completed college coursework, perhaps through dual enrollment or early middle college programs, it is critical that you send an official college transcript to the admissions office at Grand Valley so that we can evaluate your credits. It's very helpful if we can have those evaluated prior to your meeting with your advisor, but certainly some of you may be at a point right now where your session is next week and we won't have it in time. Please have an unofficial copy of your transcript or your courses with you during that session. The advisor will do their absolute best to advise around that, but it is important that you have the official transcript sent to us so that we can get that evaluated and put on your student record.
Okay, I have a question regarding student athletes. Will an athletic advisor be available during the registration meeting for student athletes?
Yes, in fact, for a lot of incoming varsity athletes, their appointment will actually be with an advisor from the Laker Academic Success Center. So Damon Arnold, Maisha Golston, and Michaela Meyer are the advisors who work predominantly with athletes. And one of the things that we're doing in our revised program this summer is we're working to direct people to the closest available expertise that we have. And I understand from Damon that for college athletes, there have been a number of rules changes and other things that have been tied to the current circumstances. And so we're working as much as possible to get varsity athletes in touch with them. If you are a varsity athlete and you happen to meet with an academic or professional advisor in your major who's not an athletic advisor, that academic advisor will also connect you with someone from athletics by the end of your meeting.
There's a question related to final high school transcripts. It is your responsibility as a student to contact your high school and have your final high school transcript sent to the university. For many of you, that's through parchment or another electronic service. What you'll want to do, though, is make sure that you're requesting a final transcript. Often what we find is students go in and they request that now. And if your final grades, even if they're credit, no credit, pass, failed, that final semester must be on the transcript for us to consider that the actual final. And for financial aid purposes, certainly that becomes very important. So make sure that you're requesting the final transcript once everything is posted.
I did see a question about, I'm sorry. Is a foreign language class required, or does it depend on your major?
Depends on your major. There are classes of degrees that require them. So two main classes of degrees are Bachelor of Science versus Bachelor of Arts. If a student chooses a Bachelor of Arts, that requires third semester foreign language proficiency, so through the 201 level. If you major in something like international business, there are programs like that that also require a certain level of foreign language proficiency. But there are many degrees and programs on campus that don't require foreign language at all.
Okay, what is the difference between Math 122 fulfilled and Math 123 fulfilled?
Math 122 and Math 123 are separate courses that are together the prerequisites for calculus and for some advanced science classes. Math 122 is a course titled College Algebra, and Math 123 is trigonometry. So it's just tied to the fact that those are two different courses that we offer, and so it's possible to have a placement of only Math 122 fulfilled or only Math 123 fulfilled through placement. But for students coming in based on ACT or SAT, they either come together or not at all is the typical experience.
So a follow-up question to the earlier question about college courses, should a student wait to send the transcript? Grades are released this Friday. Again, if the student is currently in courses, you may wait to send it at this point because we do need time to evaluate that. But as soon as those grades are posted, please have that transcript sent to us. If you've completed a number of credits and your advising session is coming up in the next couple of weeks, you may want to have it sent so we can get that evaluated, especially if you're an early middle college student who has a greater number of courses, because that does make it more difficult for an advisor if those courses aren't evaluated prior to your advising and registration session. Again, if you don't have an official sent, you really need to have an unofficial available. And when your advisor contacts you ahead of time, you may even want to share that information with them at that point. Our goal is to get you the best possible advising experience, and we can only do that if we know all of the information or courses that you've completed to be able to do that to get you into the right courses for your first year at the university.
Jody, I'd like to follow up on that just briefly, and I want to share my screen so that people can actually see the fillable PDFs form that's going to be sent to you students. So this is basically an electronic version of what we would ask you questions of in person if we were doing advising there. And it gives you a chance to tell your advisor more about who you are. In terms of the recent conversation here, one of the things that's really key is, as Jody said, it's very important that if you have things done and official credit for them to send those to us. But I would say it's even more important that you just tell your advisor about what you've done. So if you've taken AP exams, to use this drop-down window and say, oh, I took AP Biology, or I took AP Chinese Language and Culture. So even though you may not know the score, your advisor will have that information and can take that into account. And then down here, there's an opportunity for you in this window to list courses that you've taken through dual enrollment. And so there too, what the most important thing is that we have the information at least 24 hours before your appointment. The ideal is that you've submitted official transcripts so that these can be evaluated and your advisor knows exactly what they count for. But your advisor will also have the ability, if you gave information here, like what these GRCC courses are, to look those up and understand what they count for.
Okay, some more specific questions about AP. If you pass AP Calc, can you still take college algebra or trig to fulfill math requirements for a degree?
Well, you could, you should not. So if you take AP Calculus and you get a 3 or better on the AB exam, you have credit for Math 201, which fulfills your general education mathematics requirement at the university. And you have also met the prerequisite for almost every course on campus that's not a higher level math course in the department, in the math department. So if you have credit for AP Calculus, you should not sign up for a class like Math 122.
Not sure if you know this, Matt, but what is the highest level of math needed for a business degree?
The highest level that's needed is some form of first semester calculus, I think. I think it depends on the emphasis that a student takes. We have a 100 level survey of calculus class that some business students take. Some business students take Math 201. I know all business students take Stat 215. And so it's not anything beyond Math 201. But then if I could just be math professor for a minute, I would just say any student who wants to study something that has quantitative reasoning in it benefits from taking some more mathematics. And I would urge you to ask your advisor about possibilities there.
Okay, how many classes will students be signing up for with their advisor? And are they signing up for only fall semester classes or classes for the whole year?
We always sign up for classes for the entire year. That's part of how we plan our schedule and organize our work at the university. So you'll be signing up for both fall and winter semesters. Block tuition at Grand Valley entitles you to the same price for classes for anywhere between 12 and 15 credit hours. We shoot for 15 credit hours wherever possible, in part because that's the best deal for you for your money. It's also the case that we find that students who take closer to 15 credit hours do better on balance. It's one of those maxims in life that it's good to be busy, right? If you have something you need to get done, give it to a busy person. And then lastly, the other reason 15 credit hours a semester is important is that it takes 120 credit hours to graduate. And if you divide 120 by 4, you get 30, and 30 divided by 2 is 15. So that 15 credit hours a semester is a key thing to shoot for. As far as credit hours go, most of our classes are 3 credits, but we do have some 4 credits, a rare 5 credit class, and also quite a few 1 credit classes. So one of the things your advisor will work with you to do is to get close to that number 15, which will typically be something between 4 and 5 classes per semester.
Is there a sign language class at GV?
There is. I believe there are 2 of them. I think ASL 201 and ASL 202. So that would be something that you can find if you Google GVSU sign language classes. I know those are taught out of the College of Health Professions, and you could learn more about those there or in our catalog, which is linked to in the 10-day prior email.
There was another question related to transcripts. Does the high school do everything to send over any credit you've earned through dual enrollment? And the answer is no. You will need to have the institution that granted that college credit send us a transcript. And so contact that college directly. Most transcripts are sent to us electronically, so it shouldn't be difficult to get that sent to us quickly. But much like your high school transcript, you as the student do need to initiate getting that sent.
So another one about AP exams. If you did not sign up to take AP exam in the fall, does the AP class benefit you now for any credit? Is it true you can't sign up now?
So my understanding is that it's too late to sign up for an AP exam that you have not signed up for. And as far as the benefit then being asked, so if you took an AP class but did not take the AP exam, then what you don't benefit from is you don't benefit from the possibility of earning Grand Valley credit for the course. But with that said, I will say AP courses across the board impress me. They demand a lot of students. I think they're the most similar among most high school courses to what college courses are really like. So having taken an AP class is really good preparation for college, regardless of whether you get credit for it or not.
If you are already registered with Parchment and GVSU is on your list of schools, will it automatically send last transcript, or do we still need to contact the school to resend it?
You do need to log back into Parchment and request the final transcript. They will not send anything automatically. So again, as a student, that has to be initiated by you.
Those are all the questions I'm seeing so far. These are good questions.
Absolutely.
I'll take the opportunity to add that at this point, you may not know what additional questions are on your mind, and they may come to you immediately after we close this session. Please know that the admissions office is open. We're all working. Our office hours are posted 8 to 5, and you can call us directly. If you call the admissions number, we will be able to work with you directly. However, if you need an evening appointment or would like to talk with someone on the weekend, just email us at admissions@gvsu.edu. We want to make sure that you get all the information necessary to make this important decision and to move forward in this process. So anything that we can do, if we don't know the answer, we'll reach out to our colleagues across campus and we'll find that information for you.
Okay, a couple more questions just came in. Will pre-nursing students be assigned an advisor from the School of Nursing?
As much as possible, yes. And so again, the one thing that I have as far as the data that comes to me is I have the information that students listed as their interest areas when they signed up for advising and registration. So I will say to you, if you're a student who put nursing first, you'll either work with a professional advisor from the College of Nursing, a faculty member from the College of Nursing, or a faculty member who regularly works with students from the College of Nursing. So I can't do that in every single case for the summer, but as much as possible across a wide range of majors and programs, we will work to make that happen. And if you happen to be working with somebody who's maybe not as close of an expert in the area that you're with, they both have access to all of the key information, and they also have access to colleagues who they can connect you to if there are additional questions that arise.
At time of registration, does financial aid need to be in place or completed?
Financial aid does not need to be in place or completed at the time of your registration. If you're having any difficulty or need to talk to someone in the financial aid office to get that completed, because I'm sure it would feel better if you did have that in place, by all means, again, their numbers are working and you may reach them by phone. You can also email them, but it is not a prerequisite for scheduling your advising and registration session. Fall bills are mailed at a later date, and certainly by that time you would want to have everything in place so that it's reflected on your fall billing statement.
And I'll just add to that, tuition is not due until 10 days prior to the start of the fall semester. And that's just for the fall semester. The same holds for winter semester. It's 10 days prior to the start of classes. That's the time that tuition comes due.
Is there still a $1,000 scholarship offered to seniors who have taken 15 credits each semester through their junior year?
So that was a program that we had under President Haas, under our new leadership with Dr. Mantella. She has initiated a new program. And so we were excited to announce this spring to our students that we have a Laker Lifetime Learning Initiative. And so a student upon graduation will have an account at the university that will have $1,000 in that account, and they can use that money at any time following graduation to come back and perhaps pursue a graduate degree or take additional coursework toward a certificate or other credential that they'll need as a professional. So that is the program that we have in place today.
Can students still sign up for those connected courses?
Absolutely, and I know Brian would be super excited to hear from you. So I think that's a great opportunity that you should really seriously consider pursuing. You know, the benefits that Brian laid out, that you get to take 2 classes, that you're in community with the same group of students and have professors who work together. There's really good things with that. And again, you would even then know before your advising and registration appointment a couple of classes that are on your schedule. Your advisor would work to plan around that. So yeah, please do reach out.
Prior to students' registration appointments, are the times for classes and days also going to be posted?
Oh yes, yeah, they're already available. And so you'll see when you work with your advisor, when you do your searching for classes, you'll see all the information about the course, what days of the week it meets, what time it meets, in most cases who the professor is. You'll see what campus it's on, what building it's in. So all of that information is a part of our banner system. You're even able, once you successfully log in with your network credentials, you're even able to go in and look for classes, and you just won't have the capability to register for them until your registration day.
If no credit is awarded from a dual credit class, medical terminology, is there a chance of getting credit later if major requires that type of class?
Could you say that question one more time for me, please, Liz?
Sure. If no credit is awarded from a dual enrollment credit class, and the class would be medical terminology, is there a chance of getting credit later if the major requires that type of class?
So I think what this question is asking is somebody took a class as dual enrollment, wants to transfer it to Grand Valley, but it didn't come in granting Grand Valley credit. But a course like that is required as part of our degree. So we do have a process for students to appeal that. And so that would be something to ask your advisor about, and they would alert you to something called a student concern form that you could fill out to ask to see if that's possible.
And I'm not sure if any of you know the question or the answer to this, but is it possible to start making tuition payments before the fall bill comes?
I can tell you that I've never had that question before. What I will say is that when the fall statement will come out, it will be mailed to students, and it will be at that time when you're allowed and you're able to access the system and make the payment. So you wouldn't do anything prior to that time.
Question about May 1st deadline to confirm that the student will be attending GV. Where do students do this?
So we have extended that deadline to June 1. So that does provide you more opportunity to make a decision. Also in regards to housing, you have time until June 1 to do that as well. The way that you commit to Grand Valley is you simply sign up for that advising and registration session. So there is a $95 fee. That fee does cover the advising and registration, but also all of our new student orientation activities. So our orientation process is more than just advising and registration. And so once you do that, that is how you have let us know that you plan to take a place in the freshman class this fall.
What are the learning community topics for this year?
Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, sorry, unmuting there. Let me just pull up the page there. So the themes that we have for this year are Reflect, Connect, and Engage, and that is a combination of Writing 150 and Integrative Studies 100. We have another Citizens of the World, which will be Writing 120 and Integrative Studies 100. There is another Political Contextualization of Social Problems, which is Poli-Sci 102 and Soc 105. Choice Change, The Living History, that is History 103 and a Classics 131 combination. There are another here titled Reading, Writing, and Arguing about American History, which is History 103 and English 100. And then an arts combination here, through the Looking Glass, Visual Culture and the Language of Power, which is our Art 101 and Women and Gender Studies 200 course. Each of those pairings satisfies, like I said before, at least two components of the general education curriculum.
Okay, couple more questions. One is, are there housing scholarship opportunities?
We don't have housing scholarship opportunities. I see there are several questions related to housing. Another question is, when will housing assignments be made? Typically, housing will send out first year assignments about mid-June. And so right now, housing is working very closely. As I stated earlier, we are planning on being open in the fall. Housing is working and getting advice from the health department, from the CDC. We're watching information from the state government, and they will make decisions about what is best for the safety of our students. But at this time, we are planning as we would for any fall. And so those assignments will come out to you. And as I mentioned, there is still time to apply for housing if that is something that's in the back of your mind. If you do fill out the housing application, there's a $150 deposit. Should something happen, we absolutely want to work with students. We understand the uncertainty. And if there's a situation where we need to refund that housing deposit, we will absolutely work with you to do that. Our preference is that you just keep moving forward in the process. We're planning on being here in the fall, and we would like you to take the steps to be ready for fall as well.
So there are, like Jody mentioned, a number of questions, not only about housing, but also, again, about what those plans are for the fall. I would like to recommend folks attend. Our president is going to be holding a couple of virtual town halls. And so there will probably, no doubt, be some information about that in there. I'm also going to share our parent and supporter orientation website again. Lots of great videos on that website. As well as certain offices will be holding further virtual Q&As. So housing will, dining, our GVPD, our campus health center. So lots of opportunities to ask those specific departments questions.
Liz, are we in a place to maybe wrap up a little?
I think so. Yep. Just for the sake of everyone's timing, I think
Sure.
we are good to go.
So I'll just say a few words in closing. One thing I'll say is that Well, I don't know exactly how it's going to look. I know for sure we're going to be here in the fall. So Grand Valley will have classes. Grand Valley will have all kinds of stuff going on. If it looks different than it looks in a normal fall, that's information that we'll share with you as soon as we're absolutely able to. People all over campus are working harder than they've ever worked before. And I want to say to everybody, Grand Valley is a place where a lot of people work hard, period. Like, we love this place. We care about it. We want what's best for our students. Many of us who work for the universities have given our lives to the service of students and to the betterment of the university. And I've never in my life seen a group of people work harder than folks have in the last six weeks. I know that work is going to continue this summer as we look forward to the fall semester. And I trust our president and our senior leadership to make decisions for what's best for everyone involved. And I'm optimistic for that future. I do want to say in closing to students and parents alike, I mentioned at the outset that not only have I worked at the university for a long time, but I'm a Laker parent. My middle child, Ethan, just graduated a couple of weeks ago. I say with no bias in it whatsoever, he had a phenomenal experience at the university. He had internships, he had fantastic professors, he took interesting courses, he won a prize for his honors senior project. He just did all sorts of things, and he became a much better version of himself than he was when we as parents released him off to college. So I'm super grateful for what the university has done for Ethan. And one of the great privileges of my life is that I've seen this happen over and over and over with students who attend with us. And so we're excited that you're part of that Laker family and that you're looking forward to attending. I know that the uncertainty of fall and what awaits is hard, but I hope that you'll trust us and that you'll hang in there and that you'll wait for more information from our president. And what I sure hope is that I'll see you face to face early in fall semester. So thanks for being with us today.